Escaping a toxic friendship, or any toxic relationship, the hallmarks are largely the same, can be extremely difficult. And I use the term escape very deliberately because toxic friends tend to employ complex systems of manipulation to trap you in the friendship. But for simplicity's sake, I'll be using terminology that largely refers to friendships, but they both do apply. So one of the methods a toxic friend uses to trap you might involve setting a precedent of obligation in the friendship. Like you need to meet certain parameters that fulfill your role as their friend. This might be accompanied by this friend making you feel guilty for not putting in enough effort or making appearances at social gatherings. The best example I can give of this behavior comes from my own experience. I had a friend who held very strong family values. What he wanted in life was to find a nice girl that he could commit himself to, a well-paid job that he could work hard at, a house, and to start a family. I can't even begin to describe the level of respect I have for these life choices. So when he started seeing me less and seeing the group less, there wasn't a shadow of an issue in my mind. Sadly, I don't really talk to that friend anymore, but knowing that he is chasing the life he wants makes me happy. Some of my other friends, however, would talk some pretty bad smack about this guy and his girlfriend behind their backs. The term lost respect was thrown around quite a bit, which is wild, and they would talk about how it was pretty poor form for this guy to not turn up to group events or dinners. Friendship to these people wasn't a mutual respect and liking of each other. It was a series of arbitrary standards to be met, and if you didn't meet them, you were a bad friend. This leads me neatly to my next point. Toxic friends will find ways to create a dynamic in which they are entitled to your loyalty. I'll touch on this a little later regarding them using your friendship status as a way to lobby for favors or special treatment, but for now I'll say toxic friends will employ manipulation techniques to create an imbalance of equality between you. Negging is a term that applies very well in this particular circumstance. Through backhanded compliments or sly digs, a toxic friend will whittle away your sense of individuality until they can control the flow of approval and validation to keep you loyal. The first step in escaping a toxic friendship is recognizing it, which can be especially difficult due to the subtlety of its traits. At the end of the day, you will see your friend as a person first, not a series of red flags. And a lot of their transgressions will take place in an awkward gray area, which can be dismissed as just how that person is. That being said, here are some of the classic hallmarks of a toxic friendship. They take much more than they give. An example of this is never planning hangouts or gatherings but expecting it to be done for them. Never texting first but complaining if your side of the communication dips. Not taking the time to be present with you when you do hang out. Like constantly being on their phone talking to other people. I have a fantastic example from my personal life involving this particular trait. During the time when my aforementioned friend was sort of slowly leaving the group, some of my other friends pressured him into hosting a barbecue. And when I say pressured, I really mean it. They used pretty rude and passive-aggressive language to imply this guy was a bad friend for not hosting. Anyway, he did on a Sunday when he had to be up at 4:30 in the morning the next day for work. This guy sacrificed his well-earned free time, of which he had little, to host a barbecue for his friends. For the entire time we were at his house, my other friends sat on their phones, not talking to other people, but playing games. Only breaking to once again pressure my friend into hosting a New Year's party. Well, my friend's girlfriend actually pushed back with a few well-placed sarcastic comments that really put these other guys in their place. What do you know? His girlfriend was now the devil, according to these guys. Another big toxic trait is insults disguised as banter. I cannot count how many times my physical appearance has been picked at over the years, often for things I have no control over, such as facial structure or body type. And God forbid I experiment with my wardrobe. See my denim jacket video for more. I make music. It is my biggest passion and something I pour myself into almost religiously. And according to my old friends, it was worthless, grating, and futile. All jokes, of course. As I said before, negging is a brilliant descriptor for this kind of behavior. If you are constantly bombarded with insults disguised as banter, always remember that the friends engaging in this behavior are putting you down in a pathetic bid to alleviate their own insecurities. And a lot of the time, the things of which they make fun are objects of jealousy. A little addendum to this point is a lack or complete absence of compliments. It is very normal for friends to trade compliments with complete sincerity. something that I unfortunately did not realize until quite recently. That brings me to the next toxic trait. They do not share your enthusiasm for the things you enjoy. This one is very similar to the last one, the difference being that the insults or jokes are not directed at your person, but at things like your hobbies or interests. Don't get me wrong, it's completely normal for your friends to have different interests than you, and they can be critical of them in certain contexts. What's not normal is all of your enthusiasm being quashed by their criticism. This might take the form of being overly nitpicky when you're sharing something you're passionate about, or constantly playing devil's advocate, essentially looking for ways to invalidate you and your feelings. You might find that toxic friends will try to impress their preferences and beliefs on you instead of respecting your personal opinions. This stems from a larger behavior in which they will try to shape you into something they prefer rather than letting you be yourself. This can be exemplified with a little hypothetical. Say a friend gets into bread making and they share this with another friend who, for some reason or another, does not like that. Whether it's an aversion to change or a scathing attitude towards bread making, they just don't like it. So they put their friend's new hobby down with insults and backhanded comments, saying things like that's a waste of time, that's stupid, etc. Instead of recognizing that their friend has differing interests and hobbies that are no less valid than their own, which is the right thing to do, this person tries to tear their friend down to preserve them in amber. The last of these hallmarks I'd like to talk about is a toxic friend's habit of using your friendship status as a way to lobby for things, like calling in favors or seeking special treatment. They might say things like, oh, we've been friends for X amount of years, which is why you should grant me these concessions. Always remember that no true friend will use you for their benefit. And ask yourself in these moments, if the roles were reversed, would they do the same for you? The worst part of all of this is that a lot of the time, manipulators live in a state of denial and don't even know they're manipulators. Toxic friends will have an infinite number of excuses for their behavior and will oftentimes deflect responsibility onto their victims. This can make it extremely difficult to talk to these people about their behaviors and seek change, which is why it's a lot easier to just make the call to cut them off. Which brings me to my next point. Ending a toxic friendship hurts. There are some people out there who genuinely have the ability to put their own feelings first and make those kinds of hard calls with ease. But I assume since you're watching this video, like me, you're not one of those people. As I said before, you will see your toxic friend as a person, and it can be very difficult to recognize the harm that person is causing you. And even more difficult to stay strong if you do decide to cut them off. The aftermath of separating yourself from a toxic friend involves a slew of confronting feelings, which might involve self-doubt. Did I make the right decision? You may miss your friends, probably one of the most confronting feelings, and a horrible reminder that any toxic relationship has its good parts. People can love their abusers, one of the horrible double-sided coins of life. In these moments of doubt, when we can't help but focus on what we sacrificed, it's important to remember what we gained. Freedom to be ourselves, to seek friendships that build us up instead of tear us down, to share our passions without unnecessary criticism, to look how we want, to build the life we want, to let go of what is holding us back from greatness. Escaping toxic friends will be the best decision of your life, and I dream that this video has helped just one person make that decision. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single view. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video or found it thought-provoking in any way. And I would love to hear about your personal experiences. So please comment if you've been through or are going through everything that we discussed in this video. And as always, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, subscribe for more. Until next time, see you.